Derek Ball.
The pleasure to rise on behalf of New Zealand First to speak on the social services and social housing appropriations part. There's a couple of things that I'd like to get through, sir, if I have got enough time. But the first, I'd like to just mention one thing that the Minister said, and that was that the best thing for beneficiaries is to get back into work. And the question that I have for her is, if that's the case, then why has the government demonstrably failed in regards especially to youth and those youth that are unemployed and those youth that are disengaged from society? So we're talking about those youth who are not in any sort of education, employment or training. And at the moment, we're looking at over 82,000 of those across the country, sir. And that's actually the highest that it's been in the past 3 years. The highest that it's been in the past 3 years. That's between 15 and 24 years of age, that is totally disengaged with society. And it's never been actually lower than pre-2008 levels. So we've got a government who was preaching one thing and delivering another. The government is saying that the priority is to get beneficiaries and disengaged people, and if we're talking about youth, back into work, and that is they're demonstrably failing, sir. One thing that the Minister mentioned about youth and about the way that they were addressing youth unemployment was extension of the youth services that has occurred, that we saw the legislation go through the House last month, I believe it was. And New Zealand First had a number of issues with that, and first and foremost was the fact that the fundamental principle behind it, the fundamental principle behind all of the social policy that the government is pushing forward through at the moment is called the social investment approach. And what the social investment approach main purpose is, sir, is to ensure that the financial cost of any individual in New Zealand is minimised to the state. That is the sole purpose of the social investment approach. It's not about the need of the individual. It's not about what that individual, the family needs. It's about how much that individual costs the state in the long term. And those decisions that are made now that will affect that later on. Not about the need. And it's demonstrable that the government's approach is not working. We've not only got the NEET that's at the record levels, we've got the youth unemployment, which is chronic. It's the highest, Mr. Joyce, it's the highest level in 3 years. The NEET rate is the highest level it has been in 3 years. Not only that, but it's the highest increase, the highest rate increase of young males. The highest rate increase of young males. And what we heard actually at the end of last year, sir, was the likes of Mr. Joyce standing up in the House and saying that it was at record lows for 15 to 19-year-olds. It was. The fact that he was failing to mention was that we were 18th in the OECD. And that was something that he was standing up and saying was a good thing. That we've got a record level, lowest level in New Zealand history, but we're still 18th. We've got 17 countries in OECD with lower levels of NEET rates than us, sir. But where does that go? Where does it end up? What does that mean? 85% of all youth in the youth justice system, actually, sir, have no qualifications or have dropped out of school. And that we're talking about 16, 17-year-olds, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, sir. And they've got no qualifications or dropped out of school. Not only that, but 60% of them who have gone through the youth justice system end up back in prison within 2 years. And 80% re-offend. And what we're talking about is the fact that those kids are inactive and have got periods of inactivity when they leave school, and they have a greater chance of being inactive and being on a benefit 10 years later. So where is the social investment approach from this government when addressing those issues with our youth? And one of those courses, the youth courses that have been effective, sir, is called the Limited Service Volunteer Scheme. And what this government has done over the past 4 or 5 years has cut away slowly every single year the funding to that scheme, the numbers to that scheme. It was at 2,000, and if we can recall, sir, the Prime Minister actually campaigned on it in 2010, in 2008, 2010, and have cut away from 2,000 places on the Addis fee down to 500. And the government has closed the Trentham base, and they are looking at closing the Christchurch base as well, and only having a small course in Auckland. And what that does, sir, is it takes away one of the main courses that has been successful for the youth and for the NEETs over the past few decades, actually, sir. This government preaches one thing, sir, about unemployment and about getting them into work, and
Dr.
delivers
Megan
another.
Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.